So, rule number one of photography, as far as I'm concerned, is the best camera is the one you have. So if all you have is your cell phone, at that moment, that is the best camera. So one of the best ways to start to get better pictures right off the bat is if you have a camera you like, figure out a way to make your setup portable. Having a portability solution is one of the first things to do because there's nothing worse, especially in Florida, with some of the great sunsets we get after these turbulent afternoons, than just having your iPhone camera. iPhone cameras are great, but they don't get all the tones and that beautiful sunset that you get if you had your DSLR on you. Photography is great, especially if you're also interested in videography or cinematography. There's a couple of big differences between videography and cinematography that photography just sort of straddles. The way we like to say it where I teach, and I usually teach a video class actually, is that videography, everything's about the camera and adapting your camera to the setting, being versatile with it. In cinematography, we kind of leave the camera alone and we mess with our setting. We bring in lights. So there are both ways of doing that in still photography as well that sort of rides the line between journalism and art photography. And there's lots of settings on cameras that are made for both. So that's one of the first questions you want to ask yourself if you're out is this more journalism or are we shooting more for art? What sort of things should you photograph? To put it very simply, you should photograph awesome things. A lot of times you don't quite hit the triangle of everything. Something that's interesting, something that's usually well exposed, and something that is artful to look at in composition. It's usually one of those three makes a good photo. When you get all three hitting, you've got a great photo. Journalism versus art, it's about capturing a moment or creating a moment. With journalism, that's a really good one to start with, going to events because there is a story happening naturally that somebody's already set up. Art is a little more tough. It's going to happen a lot more probably on paper or in the mind. It's probably going to spend more time in your head than you'll actually spend in execution. Because these are things you can take time to plan, but generally these are also the things you may bring a little bit more gear to, a heavier setup. They didn't just happen in front of you. Manual or auto? That's a good question too, because especially if you come from a video or film background, a lot of people will kind of give you a strange look if you ever use the word auto, because people who are into cinema, manual is everything. But one of the walls I had to break down for myself coming from a video background is some of the great opportunities that auto modes that let you have a little control, or especially some of the things you can do with autofocus give you, especially in a journalism environment. There's a lot of things the camera can do for you that a lot of us from video tend to ignore because in video we like to go full manual, either because we like the connection to the medium or the technology hasn't quite caught up to what you can do by yourself. In still picture cameras, it's been there for a while and it can do some really amazing things. So really journalism versus art kind of comes down to utility versus creativity. And it doesn't mean it's always one or the other. I think the best is kind of a little bit of both. A happy mistake where maybe you have a protest going on and the sunlight's just hitting a building right and bouncing onto the subject, and having the presence of mind to be able to recognize those things when they're happening. Plus rule number one of the best camera is the one you have with you.